at the Baskerville territory called Underdog. We arrive at a beautiful mansion. A bald man is telling a pair of servants that the mansion and area has to be squeaky clean by tomorrow as the new deputy consult from the Baskerville family will be coming. A servant wonders what kind of person the new deputy would be and hopes that the person would be experienced in business. The servants continue to talk as Vikir walks by, catching their attention. The servant grabs Vikir's shoulder wondering whose kid this belongs to while telling Vikir this was a place you can't just enter. Vikir looks at him and tells him to remove his hand in an instant. He reveals a piece of paper to the servants. Making them realize that he was the new deputy, Vikir tells them to prepare women and drinks to have a party right now as he enters the building. The servants looked at him confused about the party. Drinks and food are seen along with various people drinking and laughing. A man is staring at this scene in disbelief. His name is Chihuahua Baskerville. He was the general secretary of the city of the Underdog and was very upset right now. He stares out the window wondering how ridiculous Vikir was to drink and party on the first day of his assigned job. This was because of the previous deputy who caused him to have a hard time due to the bribes, and now he's holding a party at the workplace. He finally shouts out that Vikir was a troublemaker and that only once the city was in ruins he will get it together. But Vikir appears behind him, asking if he was the general secretary. Chihuahua wonders when Vikir entered the room as they both introduced themselves to one another. Vikir notices something about Chihuahua's name, that he had no middle name. Chihuahua was stunned as he knows that a lack of middle name signifies that he was outside from the family and he was discriminated against because of this. But Vikir tells him that it was nice. This confuses him. Vikir tells him that he had researched him beforehand and knew that he came from Underdog, making he know all the ins and outs of the city. He tells Chihuahua that he knows how hard people like him had worked and that he wouldn't interfere in his work and trust him to do a good job. Chihuahua wonders if this was a new form of harassment, and why Vikir was here when he had asked for a party. Vikir closes the book, stating that the personal laws had no issue but the judicial system had a lot of flaws. This shocked Chihuahua as Vikir read the book extremely fast. He speaks out about the problem was that Underdog had many illegal business owners who were successful, making the underground hold power above the law. But stopping the illegal businesses itself won't solve the problem. Heads of the underground businesses needs to be removed. Hearing this, Chihuahua just remains silent. Vikir continues on as he stares out the window, saying that the job of the deputy consul is to make laws and execute them, and that he respects the laws already in place but wanted to add a new law. Chihuahua asks him why he needed a new law and Vikir replies that he will destroy the underground economy in a week and needed a cause to make and execute this law. Since he was still young and a newly appointed deputy consul, he needs a certain type of performance to make it more convincing. To put it differently, I will lay out the poop for the flies. Chihuahua stares at him wondering what he plans to do in the city. The next day at the Underdog's downtown Dortsmile Street, a crowd was gathered. As Vikir stands in front of them dressed well, the servants and Chihuahua stand behind him, wondering what Vikir was planning to do as he had been standing there since the crack of dawn. Vikir announces himself to the crowd as the newly appointed deputy consul as the crowd wonders what a cute young kid can do. He tells them about the notice behind him and that the laws have been in place for a while, and that even if the deputy changes, the laws will continue to be upheld. The crowd doesn't believe him, thinking that the higher-ups won't do anything and that he was going to be lobbied pretty soon. Chihuahua yells out at them to mind their manners as Vikir was from the main Baskerville family. Vikir remains silent as the crowd continues to mock him. He grips the stick hard in his hand and raises it up high, grabbing the attention of the crowd. He slams the stick straight into the ground with tremendous power. Everyone around couldn't believe what they saw. He lets go of the stick and announces a special with the authority of the deputy consul. Vikir Special Law Section 1 Clause 1, he will reward 100 million hold to whoever removes the stick. Everyone around was still too stunned to speak. They all shout what? Into the air, as the stick remains in the ground. The new law that Vikir had created. Chihuahua and the servants remained silent, where else the crowd was talking about the reward. Vikir calls out to them asking if there was no one that wants to get the money. But still no one came out. So he increased the money amount. He tells them of the increased amount of reward, but someone laughs as he speaks. A man from the crowd calls it ridiculous and that Vikir wanted to make fun of them. The crowd agrees with the man and tells Vikir to stop messing around and go to sleep. Chihuahua wonder why they were the ones embarrassed instead as Vikir remains silent at their remarks. He asks them if there was still no one. And then decides to increase the amount of reward once again, telling them that whoever pulls out the stick, they will get the new reward. He looks at them wondering if there is still no one. The crowd wonders what the hell was going on and if this was a joke. They talk amongst themselves wondering if they should do it. But they see a sword on Vikir's waist and wonder if they would get executed if he thinks they were being too greedy. They continue to wonder about the stick, if it was too heavy or if there was trick. Vikir is disappointed that there was still no one while Chihuahua whispers to him that the city didn't have that amount of money. A hand was raised in the crowd. A little girl with snot on her nose carrying a basket of flowers asks if she could try. A man tells her not to do it as she could be killed, but she tells him that her mother was sick and that she had to try something. She laughs and smiles, telling the crowd that if something happens to her, they should take good care of her mother. The old man had no words to say. She stands in front of Vikir and the stick. She thinks that Vikir might not kill her and that they would reward her with a few coins as she was volunteering to make herself a fool. Vikir tells her to pull it out as she hopes to be paid for a basket full of flowers. She bends down and holds the stick tightly, pulling with all her might. A surprised look came to her face as the stick came out. The crowd was surprised to see that it was done. The little girl holds the stick and looks up wondering why she pulled it out easily. As Vikir releases a red aura, and appears to be reaching for his sword. She tears up and closes her eyes, thinking that she would be executed, wondering what the reason was for her execution and who was gonna look after her mother. But a bag appears in front of her. Vikir kneels in front of her and tells her to take the bag of reward money. She holds the bag of money confused and so is the crowd. He looks back at Chihuahua while asking her where her home was and that the rest of the money will be sent along with a guard to protect it. He rubs her head while saying that the law must always be obeyed. Everyone was once again shocked to see this, as the bag reveals a bunch of gold coins. Knowing that the laws will be upheld with the new deputy, the citizens were happy. Even crime rates were halved. Vikir praises the handwriting of Chihuahua's as he wrote the Eastern language. Chihuahua tells him that he has never been touched since the past 20 years that he had worked here, as Vikir tells him that the stick was the idea to grab the attention of the citizens and to leave a lasting impression. Chihuahua vows to follow Vikir for the rest of his days as Vikir tells him to calm down. But the truth was, Camus was supposed to do this act in the future, but because of fear the citizens never liked her. He rolls out a map saying that the problems are only just the beginning and since they used up their money for the reward, they needed a way to get it back. He marks out spots that held illegal groups and where they might hide in the future so as to confiscate their dirty money. Chihuahua looks at the map wondering how he knew where the criminal businesses was. Vikir tells him that he could smell it but it was acutely because of his regression. Chihuahua thinks of him as a flawless man for investigating this much already as a man opens the door. The man informs them that the Young Autonomy Association has requested a meeting, which was what Vikir had expected. Chihuahua explained to Vikir that the group was made up of several clans but was just a social club, that the young masters were above the law and had something to say about the Vikir special law. Vikir tells them that the dung flies have started to smell the shit. He shows a grin and tells them if they should start to annihilate the pests that are eating away at the city. A club that was located within the high-end hotel in the underdog city called Burning Suspension, there was a party. The people in the club were the 7 crucial members of the Youth Autonomy Association. They were the second and third generation of the 7 families located within the Baskerville territory. The blonde guy tells the servant to like the drinks spilled on the table and they thank him for being able to enjoy this precious drink. He tells the others that no matter how much they spent, the money will keep replenishing thanks to the Baskervilles. A man raises a glass, saying it was easy to kidnap barbarians to sell as the demand for slaves continues to grow as the Baskerville only cared about territorial expansion. They talk about how this club was better than the ones in the capital and that even the Baskervilles were protecting them as their personal hunting dogs. The blonde man calls the Baskervilles as idiots with swords as they had caused them to take the blame as they destroyed a loyal clan called the Mesamadunaro clan. And thanks to that incident, there were only 7 clans now. They continue to talk about the new deputy. The blonde man asks if they had heard of his name before and that he had caused a scene when he first arrived at the age of 15. He thinks they should have some fun and teach Vikir a lesson. They think about bringing Vikir here and making a huge and expensive party, and once it's over, make him pay for everything. But say it was a joke so he won't bother them ever again. A servant appears in the room bringing out the female escorts. But one of them notices Vikir and wonders if someone had ordered a male escort. The servant grabs his hair asking him what he thinks he was doing here, as Vikir looks at him with murder in his eyes. A loud snapping sound was heard in the room. The servant was confused as his arm was in a weird shape. He screams in pain as the members wonder what happened. Vikir introduces himself to them, and they realize who he was. They asked what the deputy was doing here and Vikir tells them they called him here. They greeted him in a nervous manner. As they whisper to each other, wondering if they should do the plan now. Vikir places his hand on the table, telling them to stop the pointless chatter. He releases a red aura, grabbing the attention of the members. Glasses shake all around. The tower of drinks vibrate. And finally exploded. They realize that he used mana manipulation to force the champagne tower to explode by touching the table, making him a graduator class. They continue to whisper among themselves, shocked to find out that he was graduator class at 15 years old. Vikir calls out to one of them and grabs his shoulder as he tells Vikir that they were gonna pay for the drinks. But Vikir leans into him telling him that they should pay for their drinks and wondered if they were planning to force him to pay for it. The rest of them tries to calm Vikir down saying they wouldn't make him do such a thing. And that they were just testing him as the city was a corrupt place. But Vikir strikes them in the stomach. With his fingers deep inside the body as it bleeds, he tells them that a dog should never trust their owner no matter the situation. And that they act this way because they have never seen something truly frightening before. As he throws the guy onto the floor, he steps on his face, asking the others if they knew why he did this to him. And they tell him that they knew why he did this. But Vikir continues to step on his head. And tells him that they would understand what he wants to do next as he smashes the guy's head to pieces. They all stand up asking Vikir if he thinks that he will get away from this while calling him a bastard. Vikir leans face to face to another guy as he knew they wouldn't understand. He lists out their crimes: abduction, kidnapping, illegal slave trafficking, insulting Baskerville and a bunch of other crimes. He smacks the guy in the face, saying that animals don't learn until you teach them. He looks at them with a sadistic smile as his eyes glow telling them that they were gonna see what he can do to teach a disobedient creature a lesson.